Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for tuning in again today. This is the second session of Television Week. This is an Apex initiative where we have decided that we'll discuss one particular issues related to one particular industry for a week. And we are in Television Week. Yesterday it was about the COVID conundrum for the selling. Today we are here to discuss the shooting in new normal. I firmly believe television is as good as the programs it airs. And today I have three of the finest producers making those programs, and we'll discuss how it's been for them shooting in this new normal. Firstly, for the benefit of the viewers, there are new SOPs, standard operating procedures laid down by the government, where they have to shoot with restricted crews and follow certain hygienic guidelines. I'm sure those are very stringent, and we never followed them before. I'd like to start with you, Abhishek. Tell me your opening remarks very quickly. What is it been for you since the time you started shooting? And we'll also discuss when we did not shoot what happened. I mean, that's also people must know. But to ensure that shooting is very important, even though the situation is not normal and we have a dangerous virus we are dealing with. But even then, shooting is important for many because many lives depend on it. So Abhishek, with you, what is it been so far since the time you have started shooting?
So, thanks, Anirban. I think the first big thing that we've also done, and I'm sure a lot of other producers are doing, is actually hiring one of the right agencies to kind of handle our shoots. Because when we go out to do things ourselves, one of the big key issues is how do you enforce certain things? Are we even skilled enough to do it? So one thing we've taken care of is with the broadcaster, we've kind of put in agencies that are focused on doing this activity for multiple projects. Therefore, their learning curve is also faster. Pretty much on a daily basis, you need to be up to date on what you need to do as a reaction if something happens on the sets, etc. So I think from that perspective, we've done that. Obviously, the SOP is being followed. A lot of things from temperature, no one who doesn't have a negative test result, recent one, is allowed on the set. We're not calling in any guests, forget audience, we're not calling in any guests or any even channel or anyone from our side doesn't go if we don't have our test result handy. So those kind of things are there. The crowd is manageable, but at the end of the day, I think our biggest challenge is the attitude, because we find out that with the agency, we still have to keep sending our guys behind people to say, do this, wear your gloves, remember your sanitization, or don't take your visors up, please keep it down. It's just smaller things. So everything's available, but sometimes it's just a new thing that people are getting used to. So I think it's that we grappled with in the early days. As things go on, people have gotten used to it, and then it's kind of setting to normal. But I think that was our biggest challenge in the beginning, the mindset.
Right. Your show Khatro Ke Khiladi is currently on air. I mean the India version of it, and very soon our show Big Boss will go up. So we'll come back to you for specifics. But now I'll go to Siddharth. You know, you shoot with large sets. You have made Mahabharat, and you are the mythology specialist in India. So how do you adjust with these SOPs? I mean, suddenly you have people wearing masks and going closer to the camera. You can't see the viewfinder clearly. What is it? What is it that you are dealing with at this stage?
Firstly, good evening, everybody. Thanks for inviting me over here and meeting my friends after such a long break. It's great over here. See, for me, I think, and just for everybody, nobody knew what's coming our way. So when you asked about when the lockdown happened and, when the virus set in, work was completely at stop. The whole industry was frozen, actually. And everybody was wondering what's going to happen. Is it going to go worse? Where is it going to go? There was huge amount of fear that came in. And slowly, I think as we were nearing towards shoot, the biggest thing was what do we do with all our people? We had a lot of people working with us. They were living here. We've got our shooting facilities in a place called Umbergaon, which is 2.5 hours from Bombay. It is a quarantine green zone, which is like, so around 200 people were during the lockdown as well were staying here because they had left their houses, and we had a new problem because people had left their houses in Bombay because they were working with us for a number of years. So they were living here full time. So we had this unique problem in the beginning that what do we do? Half of them went back and around 200 people were left, including some actors who had left their houses and were living here full time. So we took care of them. They lived here through the lockdown, and since we are 2.5 hours away from Bombay, we take care of every aspect of their lives. So we did that, and as we were nearing shoot, the discussion was that now people from not green zone will enter, right?
Yeah.
So there is a big mental barrier that everybody had to cross, not just the actors. It included the spot boys to the electricians, because this was equal to all. It was not like choosing its prey. It's just moving wherever it was moving. So what we did very clearly was that, we are in a green zone. We got everybody tested, the whole crew, before we set them off to Umbergaon. After getting them here, after getting their COVID tests done, we got them here. We put up a full practice here, like Abhishek was saying. We've got a separate team which is only doing this morning, evening, night. We do that. We've got every much more than the operating procedures that have been told to us. People go to their rooms every morning to take their temperature, because our working style is different than, like, if you're in Bombay, you're coming from your house, but over here we have accommodation for everybody. So there's a team that goes to their room to check their temperature, to check their oximeters and all of that. So after people are fit and we quarantined them for 2 weeks, post that we started shooting. So we definitely took a little extremely cautiously, and so far we started in June, so it's been, so far nothing's reached here yet. So very happy. But the point that was the most difficult one was about being consistent, because people, like what Abhishek said, it becomes, you start feeling, yeah, it's okay, it's not come here for a week, so it's fine. 2 weeks is not fine. But what we ensured is that nobody who works here goes back to Bombay. You come here, you work. We all are here, and I have been here for the last close to 2 months now. We all are here, and we don't head back to Bombay, so that people's lives are most important. You need to take care of your people, because you are where you are because of the people that you have. So these things are still there. I think I constantly make sure that every week I personally talk to mostly everybody on a call, or go to the sets myself and tell them not to take things lightly, because you never know where it comes from. So we just ensured that we maintain this consistency so far, and I really wish that it continues like that, because this is a new normal. We need to live with this. We cannot just stay at home all through and wait for it to fly away. That's not going to happen so fast.
That's great. That's great. Now, Ranjit, moving to you, you had set a certain benchmark for reality shows in India. I mean, with the shows you had done so far. Then all of a sudden you had this SOP which said that you have to curtail your crew to a certain number, and which I believe is 33% of what it normally is. What was it like for you to go on the sets with so much, with so fewer people, and how did you decide? I mean, which people to leave and which people to keep?
Hi, everybody. Good evening to everybody who's watching us. Of course, I will answer that question. But before coming there, as we were discussing just prior to we going live, we were always saying that somehow our shows in India, and whether it's a reality show, whether it's a fiction show, whether it is any show, we always feel that we are a little overstaffed. So when we say when we're overstaffed, it's become a standard procedure of how we have functioned all these years. So some of them are due to availability of cheap labor. Some of them are availability because of certain norms that were put into space earlier. Now there are certain unions that that you have to ensure that you have to take number of people minimum from their union, and so on and so forth. So there were just a lot of norms which were being followed through many years of working in this industry. So finally, when in today's day and age, where everything is done so much on the basis of technology, on the basis of connectivity and all of that, we've always found that we were slightly overstaffed. When I say slightly, the word, I'm not going to emphasize on the number, okay? But I'm going to definitely say that we could do with lesser people on the set. Okay, so when the first mandate came into place, where we have to work with a lesser number of people on the set, it actually then brought us back to the basics, saying that who are the genuinely required people on the set. So we made a list of all those people, whether it was light, whether it was spot, whether it was camera, whether it was choreographers, whether it was anybody, the technicians, and all the people across who form the cast and crew, so to speak, of a reality show. And we realized that we could actually come down from a sizable number of almost 450 to 475 people on a regular set. We could come down to about 160 odd. and we could come down to 160 with little bit of help and little bit of doubling up of some people. So somebody would also do, the cabling job, somebody would also do the miking part, and so on and so forth. So we realized that it's not all that difficult to, in fact, operate with lesser number of people. However, having said that, I do feel sad for certain people who were a part of our crew at a larger level and who cannot be right now because of this particular pandemic or the SOPs which have been put in place. Having said that, I would still say that we would want to, this is working with very less amount of people right now. Very effective, nothing going wrong, everything going spot on, everything working like a clockwork. But yes, adding a few people would definitely help smoothen it even more. That's what I would say.
That's great. Before I move to Abhishek on the same point of people, I would like to request our viewers to keep shooting in questions. We have already got a few. We cannot go with a mic to you, but you can at least type it in so that we can ask our panelists and get the answers for you. Abhishek, do you agree with Ranjit that we have always been a little overstaffed or slightly overstaffed, as he says? And when you say overstaffed, I mean, it may not be your shoot crew, it could be the actors or the team of the actors that are coming in. So how do you see this entire space when we talk about slightly overstaffed?
So we've looked at it in a way where do we need all those people at a given point in time? And one of the reasons why we've kind of taken that approach is because our show Bigg Boss is slightly different, which gives us that insight. In the sense that while we've all spoken about zoning, etc., in terms of how do you keep people away from each other and social distancing, because our show can allow us to have smaller shifts and then turn people around, we can manage more or less the same number of people on roles, but at any given point in time on the set, we have actually around 30% or lesser of the usual strength that used to be. Because a lot of people would actually hang around for their colleagues or wait around for something else to happen or for the edits when they were not required. So we've kind of done away with that. But that same learning will come on to shows like, let's say, MasterChef.
Yeah.
Because when we do that on a weekly show, the process and the idea, like Ranjit said, would be how many people do you really need there? So the cabling and the miking is required on shoot, but does the cabling need to be done on the same day? No. Can those people do their work and then leave the set? Can we only have one troubleshooting guy for that day? So that's the way you could reduce the number of people at any point in time for an entire shift or whatever, 1.5 shift or a day of shoot. And therefore, you start reducing the risk and try to keep slightly more people on roles, but keep them all safe by having less people at a given point for a shoot. So that's been our approach broadly.
Can I add something to that?
Sure, Siddharth. Yeah.
What happens is with daily fiction shoot, your numbers are not consistent. Like, it's not like, you just get in 20 people or 50 people or 100 people and it continues. If you have a big sequence coming up, if you have, you need more people to come in, like, if there is a mega sequence that's coming up, you will need more number of people, more number of actors will come in. That basically means that more number of support staff, which is technical team. You need to add more makeup people. Every department, more cameras, mean more people come in. So of course there is, for us, there is a problem that we are facing, that we are unable to do certain things that would normally we'd be able to do. And of course, we are overstaffed. We do have more people as per protocols that we've been following so far. That has been happening. But on the other side, I also believe that, on a lot of sequences that, we could have shot, like we're not doing any action sequences properly. We are not making actors touch each other very clearly. So that is definitely affecting, when you write, you're in a creative field. It's not about, if you hold someone's hand and tell them to write, it's not the right way. It's very difficult for me to now change around sequences and make it in a way that's, safer. So of course we are doing that because there's nothing more important than human life. So we are doing that. But somewhere I'm really hoping that, this fades away as soon as possible and life comes back to normal, so that, the sense of freedom of thought remains. It's not like you're constantly worried about the outcome while you are even thinking about doing something. So,
yeah, but tell me something. When you staying with you, when you plan this shoot, so you earlier would have had many carpenters with you to adjust the set at one point of time if you wanted to do so. So do you have such liberty still now, or do you have to plan far more, more detailed planning is needed before you go on the floor, because you might not get enough people to make those improvisations at the last moment.
Of course, see, your prep time increases definitely, because a lot of things that were happening parallelly now need to be spaced out, because a lot of people will otherwise be at the same place at the same time. So that definitely is happening for some new shows that we're doing. Some set constructions are happening, but that's been, again, we are keeping them at a different space. We are doing 10,000 more things to ensure the people's safety. So there are a lot of things that are I would not say a problem per se, but that's a new way of working, right? So we are doing it, and it is definitely the time now taken to turn around is definitely gone up, because half the meetings are happening on just like this. If we suppose sat and spoke, we would have had much more fun, and possibly it would have been a much more productive discussion. That's what I believe, because there's nothing better than sitting across and chatting. I'm not too much into only doing calls and doing video calls and only talking on calls, and that's what we've been doing for such a long time, and everybody's used to it. Nobody is really used to it, including me. So things get a little delayed. I think time taken to turn around things has increased because of this new way of working, because not everybody is used to it. Once everybody completely used to it, and it has become a way of life already, and if it continues like this, probably the turnaround will be more. But yes, there are a lot of problems that we face on a day-to-day level. People are overworked due to this reducing the number of people as well. So we've kept additional people as a backup, so that we keep changing people, so that everybody gets work, and not the whole crew is completely shrunk, and the people who work with you cannot be now sent back home. So we've kept more or less everybody, and we just keep rotating them so that the other people also get a break.
Great. Ranjit, I have my question for you, but before that, I'll take a question from the audience. Laksh Bhatnagar, he says he's a songwriter. Yeah, he's a singer too. He says, since the lockdown has also curbed the commercial music that is being produced, are you accepting previously released music and licensing, especially independent music, for your upcoming productions? Why don't you take it? I mean, you have a dance show and you do license a lot of music. So how do you see this? Ranjit, you are muted.
Yeah, sorry. Of course, we can do all of that. The only reason why these music deals normally happen with the channel directly, so they have tie-ups, let's say with a Saregama or with a HMV or with a T-Series, and they have a direct deal that happens along with the channel, with the broadcaster, who in return give us the entire library, saying that this is the library available for you to use your entire song list from. So there is a license fee which the broadcaster, and the music label, they kind of exchange. So that's pretty much it.
Correct. Staying with you, I mean, we have read that you have a new show coming up. What is it like preparing for a new show during this period? I mean, how much this corona factor is playing when you are either pitching the show or making the pilot, or what is the process?
In this process, I would say that there has to be a lot more planning. It's no longer that I want a show day after tomorrow, which used to be the case normally. Day before yesterday.
We'll still not say no though.
No, nobody says no anyways. But the point is, times like this, it's pretty unreal, because nothing is in your control. Okay. Let's say even if you want to call talent, if you want to call somebody, there has to be a standard procedure to be followed. The guy comes here, we have to take his test. He has to be in quarantine for a certain amount of time. So there is a time period. And so to my mind, it's a bit of a discipline that has come in at the cost of pandemic. I'm sorry to say this, but today, if anybody wants to plan something, it has to be well planned and well thought through much in advance, rather than the last minute that we were always been used to.
Correct.
So there have been times where I've got briefs like, I want a show in 2 weeks from now. Can we do it? And of course we could do it. It's not that, one cannot do it. But the point is, today, even the broadcaster will need to think through and say, okay, how soon can we put this up? Because there are logistical problems rather than creative and so on and so forth. So one has to think through this completely to be able to give time if you want to launch something in 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks, 10 weeks, whatever the number of weeks that you want to launch it in.
Okay, that's great. Abhishek, before I come to you with my question, there is an anonymous question which is sent, and why don't you take it? It says, with the SOPs and reduction in the crew, what is the impact on the genre and storyline of the shows? in near term, would we see a reduction in the reality shows since there would not be any audience on set? You do a lot of reality shows. Siddharth can actually take on the storyline question. So can you shed some light on the question related to reality shows?
So I don't think there will be an impact on reality because the content is still the same. And there are multiple ways in which we as a group globally have done it. And I'm sure Ranjit and all would be discussing this at times, is how do we digitally connect an X number of audience to the show while we're shooting, and therefore get a kind of a reaction on the screens. So yes, like he said, it needs a lot of prep. It needs to be thought out well, and you need to lay out a plan that we've never done before. But that's where all this is leading to, and so you will get that audience part from somewhere. But most importantly, it's about the content from the stage. So I don't think reality will get affected because of just the loss of audience. There will be a factor that will play on our minds for energy and everything else, but I don't think that should affect the shows. So we still see that to continue normally. And I must say one thing is that something that Siddharth also brought up is we're hoping that, again, these SOPs were kind of made in the beginning of June to actually by mid of June get on air, which never happened. But as we slowly are now at the end of August, I am hoping that slowly the 33% number changes in terms of all of that. So I think we have to keep a view on as we go ahead, how things will slowly start opening up as well. But yeah, storyline and all of that from Siddharth.
Yeah.
From a storyline point of view, of course, like I said, when we are getting into, we are in the historical, mythological space, if there is an action sequence that we need to plan, currently we are just avoiding it. Even if we are doing it, they're standing at a distance and doing it. Suppose we have to do a big swamber or a marriage sequence or a courtroom sequence, we are multiplying people by using visual effects. So, of course, we are trying to figure out ways to achieve what we set out to do. That is what we all always try. But definitely it affects your storyline, and you have to think before you write. Earlier we would just write what comes naturally. Now you have to think about how will you convert it, because it's easier to write, it's difficult to create. So how will you create that on screen? So that is the part that we need to plan a lot beforehand, so that it is not just about, suppose you write a big sequence and people need to come. If there are 50 more people required, you will need to shortlist them, get their tests done, send them across to the Swastik Bhumi, our studio location. They will be quarantined minimum a week. After that, they will come on floor. Now imagine where your costs are going as well, because there are lots of areas and additional things that are coming into making it, not just on the writing front, but on the making front. So yeah, of course, I'm really hoping that we are able to, this new normal is something that we forget very soon. I'm really hoping to that.
Okay. Staying with you, Siddharth, this entire cost factor you just talked about. Now in India, you pitch a show to a broadcaster, or the show is licensed by a broadcaster, and they commission you on a fee. What has happened to that particular fee? Now, is the broadcaster coming with the argument that you are shooting with 1/3 the crew, you are spending 1/3 the money, why should I pay the full amount then?
No. So see, of course, the whole economy is going through a different scenario. The broadcasters are affected by the advertising rates that they are getting now. And there is an effect on the industry from a cost standpoint. There are budget issues currently, and especially with big budget shows. These guys also are into specialized big budget zones, about the reality. So yeah, of course, there is an issue. When time was good, we all were making great stuff, and times are currently not in favor for everybody. So costs need to be come down and need to be brought down. So we all are working towards getting the costs down at our end as well. But the point is, with this COVID, there's a huge amount of additional costs that was unexpected. But broadcasters are also a part of this business. They understand the business completely because they are in the broadcasting business. So they are aware of these kind of costs that are there. And I'm not really sure about the number, but I think there is a discussion. I have to check with Rahul, but I think there's a discussion on this front of that there will be a cost which will be given towards the additional expenses that are coming for everybody towards COVID expenses. I think that is happening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ranjit, what is happening with the cost front with you? I mean, you have a show on air. Uh,
See, the thing
how
is,
are you managing
ideally,
the cost factor?
see, of course, there has been a mutual understanding between the broadcaster and us to kind of reduce the cost in a manner which will benefit both. At the same time, not make any sort of damage to the broadcaster or even to us. Thankfully, I mean, also it was shut down for almost 4 odd months. So people also wanted to get back onto major costs which go, okay, or manpower costs, right? They are the most expensive in the entire business. So when manpower cost itself, the people are willing to kind of come at slightly lower costs because of they also understand the business very well. So it's not only the broadcasters or the producers, but also the technicians, the directors, the entire staff. They all understand this business very well. So they also understand that they have been home for last 4 months or with zero income whatsoever. And because of times are such that it's better to lower your prices a little right now for the time being. So at least you can get back into your space, right?
Correct.
And also people wanted to really step out and get to work. I think more than the cost factor or the income, I think most people also wanted to step out and get back to trying to feel normal rather than feeling stuffed up, cooped up at their homes, for the longest time. So of course, so there has been a cost reduction. I will not take that away. But also with the cost reduction, there has been no compromise on the content. So when you see an episode, you may miss a jib shot in between. But because the way it's been conducted, you may not feel the loss that what you missed prior to now and what you're seeing now, right?
Okay.
So that's one. Secondly, also in terms of the only thing that I feel in a reality show like a dance or a singing show perhaps is the crowd which kind of energizes the whole place or the studio, right?
Correct.
That's the only miss that you may feel for a certain. But actually, when you see it on television, you really can't make out because of the claps that we add, the sound that we add there, all of that. So you don't miss the ambience per se. But yes, definitely on the ground, you do miss that. So when you want a dancer or a singer wants to feel, the thunderous claps that they get after they finish the performance, they want to feel that entire energy, which sometimes is missing. But I think some is give and take, as even Abhishek mentioned. Now we're end of August, so maybe slowly down the line, maybe a month from now, we may get to introduce even the junior crowd in there. Maybe not to the full strength or not to the full capacity, but maybe let's say 33% of what was already existing, right? So in that context, we may have slowly come back to what it used to be at some point of time.
Great. Staying with you, Ranjit, before I go to Abhishek, there's a question which I think you can take. It's from Sana Farzeen from Indian Express. She is asking, what was the bigger challenge, getting talent back on set in a pandemic or working with the channels in terms of budget? You have already addressed the budget part. How challenging was it for you to get the talent back on the set during the pandemic?
I think, frankly, equally challenging. To add to what, but I'd say, so broadcasters have not been unreasonable. They've asked us to come back with points at where we could drop the costs, but without really hurting, like Ranjit said, the show and the largest, because you're losing things like audience, etc. anyways. So those are savings that are going to show up. But then how do you convert that into still keeping the show with its scale and everything that was always there? From budgetary perspective, obviously there will be some cuts, but they've also kind of asked us to then have a reflection in terms of costs for us. So it's not been that bad. And from getting talent on, like Ranjit, I think everyone was excited to just get back. But the biggest question everyone had was, how do we ensure safety? How do we ensure that we are in a sanitized environment where they don't have to really think of it being a super risk? So once we get those processes in place, and I think they see that once or twice, they're very comfortable going around. So I think both the tasks obviously seemed very daunting in the beginning, but I think they worked out well for all of us.
Okay.
And one more thing I'd like to add.
Sure.
This was the first, where not only the artists or the judges or the contestants In fact, everybody this time felt, that they were responsible for their own safety. So either it was a spot boy, or it was a driver, or it could be a support staff, or a technician, or a judge. Okay.
Correct.
All of them knew that this is life threatening. So I have to take care. So nobody crossed any barriers or rules or floundered any rules just for the sake of it. Everybody was so, scared. So they ensured that for their own safety. I think this was the first time where a pandemic of this kind of caused everybody to stay and toe the
When
line.
you say scared, Ranjit, when you say scared, what do you mean? Scared for the peace or scared of going out of work?
I think both, right? Life is more threatening than going out of work.
Okay.
So if someone tells you that you may
I'll
contract,
add something to this, Ranjit. I'll add something to this. See what happens, no? Like, all of us primarily work behind the camera, right?
Correct.
And
correct.
it is your actor who needs to stand in front of the camera without the mask with
Correct,
another
correct.
person, right?
Correct.
And might be 3, 4. So, I always believe that it becomes very difficult for, people, unless and until as an actor, they are mentally at peace, it becomes very difficult for them to perform.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If you're constantly worried about, whether this actor who I've just met after 4 months of pandemic myself,
उसको है कि नहीं है?
कहाँ से वो हो के आया, nobody knows, right? It's not like
Correct.
people have been meeting during the pandemic. So that was a big issue for us to handle because we had to make, because it's daily fiction,
Correct.
daily need to act and they need to live with that person. So it was very difficult. It was actually a challenge to make people feel comfortable. So what they are worried about the other actors' reality as to where he's coming from and not trusting people who are coming and doing your makeup, because your makeup will be done by somebody.
Correct.
How long will you?
Correct.
Especially in our case,
Absolutely.
it was even
Correct.
not more practical. So what we did is we tried to make our actors comfortable. We did a mock day where we did not shoot. We just took them around, told them everybody's, the process of working, who goes where, who sits where, how the whole thing happens. We did a mock-up day, and post that, I think it took them a few days
To kind of
actually,
open
be
up,
honest
yeah.
with them. Yeah, to just be at peace in your mind that, okay, fine, I'm in a safe zone, because everybody's wearing visors, all of it, and they are the ones who are standing without anything,
Correct.
So
Siddharth, there's another question from Ashwini Gangal. Why don't you take it? I'm sure you would love the question. It says, speaking of storylines and genres, do you think escapist dramas versus horror shows / serious content will rule the days ahead? I mean, it's a futuristic question. What do you see happening ahead?
No, what did it say? I missed you in between. Escapist dramas?
Escapist dramas versus horror / serious content. I mean, reality / serious content. What will rule in the days ahead?
What will be the new kind of content flavor? Is I think what is the question, right? Yeah.
I'm always a firm believer that if you tell a good story, irrespective of the genre it belongs to, it always works.
Right.
And sometimes, mostly you have flavors of the season. You have a trend working. Sometimes it doesn't work. All through the pandemic, in 2013, Mahabharata that we made worked across, like GEC as #1, gave actually more numbers than in 2013. So you cannot really say that this genre will work or that will not work. I genuinely believe that it's 25 years and more of Indian television from a content standpoint. People need to watch premium quality because the exposure that they have now across the world is there on their mobile phones. There is a great amount of competition or overlap or whatever we call it with digital content. The exposure levels are high. So we need to make quality content. So whether it's an escapist drama, because if we are talking about a GEC, it's a general entertainment category. It needs to appeal to all kinds of sections of society and all kinds of viewership. So there will be a weekend blockbusters coming from, Abhishek and Ranjit, and we'll try to take care of the weekdays. So, but Ranjit and Abhishek are also entering weekdays. So it's all happening. We are like this one
big family.
If you talk about Big Boss and the shows that all the dance and shows that Ranjit been making, it's great content. Now, which genre is Big Boss? Like, is it escapist drama? Is it reality television? Is it daily fiction? I think it has everything in it. I think the
Correct.
best that you can look at characters and understand, real human beings is via Bigg Boss. You can see the reality of every individual inside the house. So
Exactly. So Siddharth has set the tone right. I mean, to go to Abhishek with Bigg Boss. But before I go to Bigg Boss, there is a question related to Khatro Ke Khiladi. It says, since KKK made in India set a good standard, so this current season which is going on is an extension of the earlier season, and it has been shot in India. Since it's doing good, do you plan to shoot the show in India or go international from the next season?
So my guess is we'll keep going international, and one of the key reasons is the show was always set aside, has been set aside, and has stood out because of that flair that it had. So it's also a different branding that you get by going to multiple countries. It's not like it's meant to be that way, but I think it helps to kind of set the show aside and bring a focus on that by keeping it going to different countries. So I think we will go international afterwards. But who knows with this? Yeah, I mean, every 3-4 years we might just do one Indian season back again. That kind of
So yesterday we had the first session of TV Week, and we had Dabur spokesperson Rajiv Dubey come and talk, and he said once shows like Bigg Boss, Saregama or Super Dancer go on stage and they are aired, the audience feel that everything is all right. So a lot rests on tentpole properties like Bigg Boss. Well, how are you planning Bigg Boss with all the budget talks and all? Salman Khan won't come cheap for you. So what is it that
see, cost and all is that we have to look at in the back end, and that's something that's up to us. I think for the viewer, like you rightly said, it has to be the same show that comes up on air. There can't be a difference in quality or an approach or anything. So nothing changes. As usual, we'll be focused on our 3 talents, which is the anchor, the ones behind the camera, and most importantly, the guys who are in the house. And the same focus will continue. And that's your show, because that's what audience is used to. That's what we'll have to continue doing, and that's what will give them that assurance that everything's okay, or normal rather, saying we're back to normal. We shouldn't. I mean, there's no separate approach or a different approach to it.
For all one more thing adding over there, Anirban, is that for an audience sitting at home when they are watching content, okay, they don't apply the filter that they are shooting it lesser or they're making it different because of COVID. They don't have COVID in their head while they're watching it. So while you're experiencing content, you need full flow of that content, the way it used to be. There cannot be anything less in that.
But Ranjit, Abhishek, are you guys counting the talent the same way you always did? Because a lot of Bigg Boss...
So we're not doing any open auditions or anything. So that also was not like an annual feature. It used to happen in some years and some years not. So obviously the show also lends itself to being also celebrity friendly, etc. So for us, casting would be casting and not an audition route for sure. That's where we go.
And you do Bigg Boss not only in Hindi but in other languages as well. And Telugu one, I believe, is also on its. So how is it different? Do you see because Maharashtra being in the news for all the wrong reasons during the pandemic? How is the approach different in the southern markets or in the eastern markets for that matter?
No, again, content-wise, your approach is not different. But yeah, treatment-wise, as to what are the elements that you will see will depend on what your market likes. In terms of how much you push what sort of a thing. Does it song and dance play a bigger role in the gala? Is it banter that will play better, etc., etc. So Hyderabad, I think so. Telugu basically starts off in another 2 weeks' time. And therefore the focus there is obviously right now everyone's in quarantine, tests, quarantine kind of thing before everyone enters the house. So we're doing a pre-sanitization of contestants, crew and everyone. So the focus on content will always be the same. I mean, there's really no other answer to that because that's what the audience is going to come in expecting. You will have other smaller things like, instead of those 16 or 20 dancers on the stage, you might have to do with 10 or 12 or even lesser, whatever. But, apart from those variations, you can't let the energy really drop on those shows, on any show rather.
Okay, that's great. Siddharth, there's a question and why don't you take it? It says, with OTT's content being with no regulation, basically you follow the BCCC compliances while making shows for television. OTT does not have any such regulations yet. So will it somehow affect TV shows content also? Also, will OTT being in play? Are we seeing TV viewership decreasing? So I'll rephrase the question a little bit according to me. So is OTT playing a role in your mind when you are into your television production? And actually, all of you can talk about it.
Yeah, of course, OTT is playing a role, a very big role in all our minds. I'm certain about it because, I firmly believe that watching Big Boss at 9, for example, or watching any of the Super Dancer at 9 o'clock, and how many people do come and watch it on television, that's great. But earlier, what used to happen is that we used to launch a show which came yesterday, and
Correct.
that if people missed it, they didn't know where to catch up, and how do you watch the same thing if you missed it because of any reason. Today, with the advent of technology and all the catch up apps and all the OTT apps, because all the broadcasters have their own OTT apps as well,
Correct.
this is a huge viewership that has already moved towards digital. They love the show.
Mhm.
They will consume, even like cricket. I've been watching cricket on
Yeah.
Hotstar. So similarly, it's not like the cricket as a content is not working, or any of our shows are not working, or ratings are going down. I believe that there's a huge amount of overlap that's already happening from a viewership point of view on the OTT front. So people are not really sitting and waiting for 9 o'clock now. If they're doing something or they got busy, they are basically catching up later, or at any given point in time, watching it a week later, watching months later, watching years later. So even more so, the content that you create now does have a larger shelf life, because at any time the viewer will go back and consume it, and if they really like the content. So OTT definitely has a play. It has
Yeah.
already affected the rating system, according to me.
Okay.
It has definitely affected the ratings of most of our content that's coming currently.
So the argument always is that the top of the pyramid was OTT. The viewership is growing on television. There is no doubt, despite the OTT growth. Ranjit, you are getting into comedy. So is OTT playing a role there, because comedy has always been a big, be it AIB, be it TVF, they always started with comedy, and it has always been a big genre on OTT. So as you plan a comedy show for television, what role does OTT play in your mind?
See, I have another point of view. I mean, I
Sure.
fully don't agree with Siddharth here, because there has been an overlap. I do completely understand that as far as content viewing is concerned. But I don't think OTT has eaten into our share. Yes, right now, perhaps we must have got a little bit of less ratings right now. And I don't think the entire, the reason is entirely because of OTT. As much as OTT has grown in the last 4 months, because it has broken a habit. So what OTT has done is, OTT has managed to break a habit of coming to watch television at a certain time to watch your favorite show. Because those shows were not available and entertainment was the key. So everybody has moved on at some point of time to pass their time. It will take time to come back also to TV. So OTT will still be OTT. OTT will not be the preferred choice. I mean, at least for the time being, to a large TV audience.
No, I just feel that, we are a very diverse country, and, we have all kinds of people, but from a long-term perspective, right? 5 years back, if I wanted to watch anything, I didn't have much of an option but to wait for it to come at that particular time.
Exactly.
And watch it, whether that included live television, whether that included any kind of live events or anything, I had to watch it only on TV. Now today, the point is that there is an option that's come up, and it's growing as hell, right? We should look at numbers. It's growing. I'm saying in years to come, if there was a technology shift that people were going to happen, like on a lot of things that we are seeing already, the shift that was about to happen in 3-4 years has got preponed because of COVID. Today, people who did not know how to buy things, just like how during demonetization of Paytm, suddenly everybody learned how to use Paytm. Nobody knew how to make payment through apps. So due to that, it happened. Due to COVID, the people who were not used to, or were used to watching only at a stipulated time, I personally believe that in years to come, due to COVID, people have now learned much more of technology and wanting to download the apps and watch content at their free will. All that has already happened, speeding up the whole process of
that it has.
So if I can add to that, so that even when this was a market that was a 3-channel market, which is Star Plus, Z, and Sony, we used to always look at what was the prime time rating and what was the repeat rating, where the understanding was people who couldn't catch up at the appointment hour. So we always had a 1+2 kind of a scheduling pattern that we used to follow for a long time. We've kind of pretty much forgotten that. And now catch up on OTT has given you that time and everything to actually go and catch up on the other stuff that played or when you missed it out. So from a viewership, like Siddharth said, ratings is something that will see an effect. But if you were to put the number of viewers together between your rating at prime time and the catch-up views on the same show on OTT, which is affiliated to the network itself, you will see that the total consumers are actually going up who are watching your shows, which is content on linear.
Yeah.
And so I think to give an example, I think scripted will always be first compared to what's on OTT because OTT is primarily a scripted platform. And when you say comedy or something, OTT's comedy has always been English and rather a little different than what we used to mass. So I don't think that's an immediate threat right now, and for quite some time. And also,
so even to give you numbers,
has not worked.
Sorry, just to give you numbers, Anirban, you'll be surprised that on YouTube, the highest watched, in the comedy section, is actually still the Kapil Sharma show.
True.
Okay, till the time they went on to getting onto Sony Live. So for the longest time, Kapil Sharma show was still the highest watched on YouTube.
Yeah.
So despite having the number ratings, which was to be highest even on television, even the repeat viewings of it on the net used to be much higher than as compared to anything else. Like any of the shows that have happened earlier, whether it was TVF or whether it was anything on the OTT platform. So yes, so the mass television and the mass comedy is very different from the stand-up comedy that urban cities are aware of. So I think that's the key us to remind us that if you want the similar kind of feeling where your OTT has been applauded, OTT platform applauds the comedy show, then we also have to make it slightly massy for people to consume on their OTT platforms.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's the lead up. You need to know who your TG is.
Exactly.
So if your TG is mass, then whether you put a Mirzapur on Amazon Prime, it will still garner a whole lot of numbers. Obviously, I'm including piracy right now in this because we've not really gone over that hurdle. But if you start making content that's niche, then it doesn't matter whether you're on a linear channel or on a OTT service, which is free as well. If your TG is a smaller fragment, then obviously your viewership will get affected accordingly. So it's about who you're making it for.
I'll just add to it. You know what I was actually just to add to what I was trying to say. My understanding so far has been that today there is a viewer which was watching those days when we used to come back and if you had to listen to music, we had to play that cassette and connect that cassette, plug in the whole thing to charge so that we could hear that song or rewind it or forward it. If we had to hear some music. Then came a time where we had to sit in front of that transistor to hear music. Today, people can walk with it. Today you just need to even just tell Alexa to play that song, it plays. You don't need to touch anything.
Correct.
The point is the consumption of music has gone multifold. Similarly, the consumption of content will go multifolds. It's about the platform through which you are consuming it. Is
exactly
a platform-driven thing. Now, from a consumer standpoint, we were only making massive content on television because there was one platform which talks to everybody, and it had to be more family-centric. Then it became more women-centric. Then there are some channels who are more male-centric, but it's still general. With OTT, what it allows people is to go niche. If you want to go niche, and niche is a much bigger number in a population like ours. If certain platforms want to go niche and make content which is appealing only to the urban sector, then the content will be made according to the urban audience's tastes and not literally generalized and made for the whole family. So that's the difference that's happening. It's a great time for content. We are able to create and tell
specifics.
We are able to tell stories very clearly to different audiences. And what better time than that? Earlier, we had to always generalize. If we had to do something, make it more simpler for everybody to understand because we were talking to a much larger mass. So with OTT, I think it's a big boon that we are able to make all kinds of content, and this viewership is just increasing. Because
Yes.
a man who used to go to work and come back in the evening and only had those 2 hours of consuming content in the night can now watch content while sitting in his shop, can while today watch content anywhere. So the content requirement and consumption will increase, and on all fronts, whether it is massy consumer or a niche consumer, it's all going to increase.
And to this now,
Yeah.
my thing is, I'm just going to quickly add on this.
Yeah, sure.
My mother, who's 70 years old right now, okay, very hardcore viewer of the Marathi channels that used to happen on television. For the last 5 odd months or 6 odd months, she has completely switched to watching all of these on her mobiles, because each and broadcaster has their own, their OTT digital link. So she's even stopped consuming it on the TV panels. Even when TVs are back, she still watches it on her mobile. And she's 70 years old. So she's adapted herself right now to watch content on her mobile. So I feel, yes, of course, what I adding to what said was, it is increased. So,
Ranjit is frozen.
Yeah, I think there is an issue with connectivity, but I'll still we get him back. I'll go to Abhishek. There is another question. Actually, both of you can answer. It's about dubbed content, and it says during the lockdown we saw many Hindi shows such as Mahabharat dubbed into local languages like Kannada, Telugu, etc., and broadcast on vernacular language channels. Going forward, will we see a similar trend still lead to economical scale? We have kind of moved from dubbing to adaptation, but
So, Anirban, it's not a COVID phenomenon, firstly. It's been happening forever.
Okay.
Obviously, and those are typically the mythology and the big scale productions on script that have gone that way. It also includes Nagin. Primarily because once you kind of invested so much money, it's not something you can recover. Why would you want to invest that in every language to give you the same story? And therefore, and not just vernacular here, it also goes to Sri Lanka, where it is played out. So I think it's been happening for a long time, for years now. I don't think the strategy has changed because of COVID.
No, it's not. It's basically, if you create content of this scale and magnitude in every regional language, the cost will be unviable. So what makes sense for the broadcaster is that, we create one big story, dub it in different languages, because the essence of the story is the same. We've done that for Mahabharat. We've done, we've even made shows for down south. We made, Shani and Kali for Colors Kannada. We've been doing content for regional as well on the same sets. The whole approach is that if you're able to dub the same content in the local language and give the same feel and the flavor of a large scale production to their viewers, it makes a lot of economic sense to the broadcaster, as well as the content of that scale of production not just travels down south, Abhishek. We are like, it goes all over Southeast Asia, and it just travels, everywhere, because the whole of Southeast Asia really consumes the kind of content that we create in India.
Right. Abhishek, there is a question. Why don't you take it? Does it? It's from Vanita Kohli Khandekar. She's an analyst of media and entertainment sector. Does it cause creative making programming for linear and on demand, or do you have separate sets of creative people for the two formats?
I think we always had schizophrenia. I don't know creative or not, but that's been pressure for us. But no, quite frankly, at the end of the day, you see a lot of creative people moving between, who are doing some daily stuff, who are now doing web series, who got into films before. So I think it's a set of writers, good writers and good creative people that will go across all. Obviously, the difference is you had to churn out an X amount for your daily show, versus when you look at your film and web series, you have to have a method to how you're going to put your creatives down, how the flow has to happen, how your arc has to come out, and all those factors. So I think it's just project to project. When they move, they just have to be aware of what they're making and for whom, most importantly. And that's how the creatives will change. But largely, I think the pool of resources will have a huge overlap. I won't say everyone, but yeah, most of them will have an overlap across these multiple genres.
Okay. We have 5 minutes left, but I have a question before I take conclusion remarks from all three of you. It says viewership on OTT is higher for thrillers. Actual series run for actually 2 to 3 days. Do we see such opportunities for television? Siddharth, why don't you take it? We have 2 to 3 episodic series on television. I don't think it will make economic sense, but please take it up.
Yeah, see, there have been a lot of discussions that have happened, and some discussions on where we make limited series on television, and nowadays if the ratings don't come, every series is anyways limited. So it's like a limited version that already started more than 2 years back. So, but at the outset, planning a limited series, there is a way that, like for example, in non-fiction. Reality, they are anyways limited, right? They know their beginning, middle, and end. They know 13 weeks and 26 episodes or 110 episodes or whatever, depending on the format and the show. With fiction, we really have been working towards getting lesser number of episodes because it helps us on a lot of fronts. And so we've been trying that, but the economics of the business has so far not been supporting it on television. There have been certain discussions that are happening. They will, I personally see that happening for certain. It might not be that it is only 2 or 3 episodes, like a Sherlock is made only for 3 episodes by BBC. I don't think that's going to happen very soon over here, but definitely we are heading there so that we can have a limited series, might be a lesser number of episodes, not 300, might be 50, might be 40 to begin with. And that I see that happening, but the only thing is that there is a huge amount of worry that happens is that if the people love the characters and they go away after 50 episodes and you make a new show after that, if they don't like those characters and that show does not work, the platform loses the audiences on that particular slot. So the idea of daily television is that once you like the characters, you keep watching them for years together. And we have not been making any of our mythologies like that or historicals. We've tried to keep a 10, 11 month, 12 month period. And we've ended most of our previous shows. We've done that way. So we are trying to stick to that so that we are telling a faster paced narrative, and we are happy making them from a creative standpoint, not production standpoint. So yeah, we've been wanting to make lesser number of episodes.
Rajiv, before you go for your final remarks, there is a question for you, which says, will we ever go to the actual level of people we had in our sets? So will you the same number of people? Will you go back to the pre-COVID levels of having people on the set?
As I told you, I would want to get few more specialists in place, but definitely not at the level of pre-COVID. I mean, I would want to avoid that pre-COVID, that people, that number of sets, the cast, crew, everybody put together. It was, I think, little oversized. I would like to keep it, of course, not even this number that we are presently working on. But yeah, adding a few more specialists to kind of finish the job slightly more, giving it a final touch would definitely help.
Okay. Abhishek, what is it that we are looking at in the second half of the financial year? What do you think will be there for us? And so will we go back to normal level of programming as we had pre-COVID?
I see, basically, there have been a lot of reports that you're already trying to see catching up with last year's advertising sales numbers.
Correct.
And post-COVID, as in there's no post-COVID right now that we can see a specific window. But this second half, and especially the festival season, is going to be an indicator. Unfortunately, none of us, and at least I'm not in a position to really make any predictions on what will we see, because of the way things are going. I think everyone's still scared of a second splurge or a second wave or a relapse of sorts for older patients also. So with all those news articles going around and being facts, we can't really predict. But we are hoping that with the existing properties coming back, be it daily soaps, be it our non-scripted shows, we should see advertising sales slowly catch up by end of the year through the festive season. And I think that is going to be our biggest test to see what is 2021 having in store for us.
Actually, also the financial year, considering it's March 21 closer, okay, till March 21, I think by then things would come back to bit normal. So it would take about at least another 6 months for even advertising to come back into the full flow of things. Because as they say, everyone's been saying this, the reports have been coming in that, this year is not about profits. This year is about surviving. So I think if most people survive this year, I think then probably, April, the next financial year, starting April, would see certain amount of surge, new innovations, ideas, new energy being pumped in from a lot of actions.
So what is it, last remark from you, Siddharth, what is it that is necessary to ensure survival in this period, the period that we are talking about?
I'm an eternal optimist. I always feel that, when there is a crisis, there is an opportunity. So there is always when things happen to you, it happens to everybody else at the same time. It's not like this one just happened to you and you're wondering everybody else is living happily. That's not the reality. So the point is that I see this, current reality to be, something that will definitely needs to go away. It's not going to be there for long. Like Abhishek was saying, I think, I don't know about numbers on how many people, advertisers, they come back, not come back. I keep hearing something about, they have come back, but the rates are not good. Whatever. The bottom line is that you are in pay TV, you have a certain commitment. People are paying you for the content that you provide to them. You need to give them quality content and it needs to come back. So whether it happens by this November with Diwali coming in or, moment there'll be IPL, you will see all the numbers will come back. They better come back because they will not sell IPL cheap. Right? They will not sell Big Boss cheap. That's not going to happen. So with all the because the viewer comes first, pay TV needs to get back and give quality content to their viewers. Otherwise, they will stop paying you. So it's very simple for me. And I'm an optimist. I believe that things will get back to normal and they better get back to normal. And I don't think this is going to last forever. People are calling it a flu, overrated, this, that, and whatever. But I'm taking it cautiously, but I'm certain it will go away. It's just a matter of time.
Great. And actually, for all tentpole properties, the viewership might just break all the previous records because most people are staying indoors and they are just watching television, apart from their working from home. So thank you very much, all three panelists. And here I'd like to thank Nickelodeon, our presenting sponsor, as well, for backing this initiative. It was lovely. Thanks a lot for all the questions. Those were amazing. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you, Abhishek. Thanks, Anirban. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks,
Abhishek.
See you, man. See you. Bye, Siddharth. See ya.
Thanks all the